is Rithabile Moloi, a 26-year-old from Letane in Soweto. She was diagnosed with depression later on after moving back to Joburg from Cape Town.
Rithabile used to live in Joburg, right? And then I moved to Cape Town and I was in a relationship with this guy. He was my first boyfriend, I will say. I think that was the most relationship that mattered in my life. Then I moved to Cape Town for work purposes. And then we dated, continued to date. And then late in 2014, I found out that, he wasn't happy. So anyway, I was abused before that when I was younger. So having said that, everything that happened between the breakup and my upbringing, it came crashing down.
If you are dealing with depression or anxiety, one of the most difficult parts of recovery can be keeping it all together while you are at work.
When you're young and you have older people, there'll always be drama between you and older people and, people just being bullies at work. That also contributed. That was wearing me down already before even all these events happened. So I was really in a very dark place.
When a family member or friend suffers from depression, your support and encouragement can play an important role in his or her recovery, as with Rithabile, who had a supportive friend.
She was there and she told me the process of going through a breakup and all of that stuff, and it made it easier for me to reach out to other friends and family to just let them know this is what I'm going through. I'm having blackouts, I'm having suicidal thoughts,
Recovering from depression requires action, but taking action when you are depressed can be hard.
I went to Phasha to get help. It was something I wanted to do. It was something that came from me. And then I decided, because I was falling apart, why not try something out of my comfort zone? And this is where swimming came. I decided to learn how to swim because I was tired of walking, using the wall to have fun. And I decided to go for that. And it changed me to a point where I realized when I was learning how to swim, the only thing I thought about was me being in that moment and not only thinking about the external. The only time I think about the outside space is when I stopped swimming.
According to Rithabile, once your symptoms of depression have reduced, be mindful about sticking to a routine that allows you to maintain your self-care program.
As people, we do have signs. You know your body, you know how you're feeling, you know that once in a while you used to love to do this, but now you're starting to neglect yourself. I would say go, write down your thoughts. Be honest with yourself. Do not judge yourself. Say what you need to say. If you're jealous of something or someone, say that you are jealous of this person, so and so and so. Be out there and embrace yourself and embrace the moment, because whatever comes out of that is bigger than that.
All right, now to help us understand a little more about mental health, it's a pleasure to welcome in studio our special guest today. First up, the gentleman in the middle, Dr. Fundile Nyati, who's the Chief Executive Officer of a company called PHS, or Proactive Health Solutions. Welcome to HealthTalk, Dr. Nyati.
Thank you.
All right, and next to Dr. Nyati on his left is Liesl Anthony. Now, Liesl Anthony is a clinical psychologist, and she's also a provincial coordinator for employee health and wellness in the office of the Premier of the Northern Cape Provincial Government. Welcome to HealthTalk, Liesl.
Thank you very much.
All right. And last but not least, no stranger to this show, board member of SADC, South African Depression and Anxiety Group, board member, NkiniPhasha. Welcome to HealthTalk, Nkini.
Great to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's start with you. Mm-hmm. We're talking mental health at the workplace. Mm-hmm. Let's look at mental health in general now. Mm-hmm. Before we start talking about the burden,
yes,
let's try and understand what it is that we're talking about. When people talk about mental health, people start thinking about people that are crazy, people that, in simple terms, what is mental health?
Indeed. I mean, you mentioned that people start thinking about someone who is crazy. So there's a lot of myths that are associated with mental illnesses. Right. And generally, in society, when you say you are either depressed or you either have a type of a mental illness, people think that you've lost your mind. Right. You are crazy, you are mad. So there's all these horrible terms that are used to define, somebody who is suffering from a type of a mental disorder. Yeah. Now we know that mental illnesses are medical conditions, medical disorders like any other, whether it's diabetes, whether it's epilepsy, stroke, hypertension, and the list goes on. So it's important for people to understand that mental illnesses are medical conditions. You don't call it upon yourself. You are not weak if you are experiencing a mental disorder. There is definitely, a psychological and physiological, disorder. There's an imbalance in terms of the chemicals that really help the brain to function in a manner in which it should.
Right.
So with that chemical imbalance, then it leads to a manifestation of a set of symptoms. And of course, the symptoms differ. If you're talking depression, it's got its own set of symptoms that might be different from a type of an anxiety disorder or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. So there's different types of mental illnesses that can affect. And I mean,
talk about different types of mental illnesses. What is the burden like in South Africa? I mean, do we have exact figures? Do you know exactly what the situation is?
It's actually
like?
quite startling. It's actually quite scary if you look at the impact of mental illnesses in South Africa. I mean, we're looking at more than a third of South Africans that actually do suffer from a type of a mental disorder at some point in their lives. And just maybe to unpack that a little bit more, you're looking at over 4 million South Africans that are living with a type of a mental disorder. So it means that the four of us sitting here, at least one of us, could actually potentially be suffering from a type of a mental disorder. So it is huge. We are also seeing that, there's a high, number of suicides that are now being reported. And of course, we know that suicide is a severe consequence of untreated mental disorder. We are seeing more and more of our younger people that actually are looking to suicide. They're taking away their lives. I mean, we've got horrible stories of young people, below the age of 10 that are actually committing suicide. So it's telling us that, we have got a huge problem in our society. We are losing future leaders. The direct consequence of that, obviously, on the economy, on the growth of our, our society. So really, it
is quite a serious problem.
It is quite a serious problem.
Now, Dr. Nyati, all right, we're talking mental health, but oftentimes you hear people talk about mental wellness. I know that mental health is broad, but is there a difference between when people are talking about mental health and some are talking about mental wellness? Is it the same thing?
Well, look, my view is that when we talk wellness, mental wellness, we're trying to broaden, our understanding of issues, but people tend to use wellness more to focus on the proactive side, of healthcare. So other people, they use the words interchangeably. But for me, when we say mental wellness, we are actually trying to look at this thing in a much more holistic way, focusing a lot on the proactive side, of health, whilst, in most instances in our healthcare system, we focus a lot on the reactive side of health.
Yeah.
So
maybe let's invite Liesel here. Let's invite a comment from you, Liesel. You coordinator of health and wellness activities within the Northern Cape, based in the Office of the Premier. Just tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Employee health and wellness, it's a government department first of all, and we basically, in terms of implementing wellness, we have 4 legs that we concentrate on. One of them is focusing on the health aspect of HIV, AIDS, TB, and STI illnesses. Apart from that, we have health and productivity management, which sort of fits in with today's theme, because we look at mental health and productivity in the workplace. Then we also have a leg that looks at occupational health and safety, and then one that specifically looks at wellness and what that entails for the individual.
Yeah.
And I think there we also look at, like Dr. Nyati also said, it's holistic, it's broad. We look at individual wellness, we focus on social wellness, spiritual wellness, physical wellness, so it really incorporates
It's quite a broad concept.
a broad concept that looks at different aspects.
Right. So we obviously, for the show, going to be focusing on mental health at the workplace. Let's get back to you, Nkini. Why should we worry about mental health at the workplace?
We should all be worried. We should all be very worried. In fact, I mean, the research that we've just, recently released that shows the impact of, that mental illnesses has on, on our society, particularly, obviously in the workplace. We understand that it obviously impacts on productivity. We often talk about absenteeism. So obviously it's people that actually don't show up for work because they are suffering from a type of a mental disorder. It impacts obviously on how well the person can perform at work. They cannot concentrate, they feel fatigued, so therefore you find that a lot of people actually feel, let me take a day off. With that, it impacts on our GDP. We're looking at over 200 billion that it gets lost due to the impact of mental illnesses in the workplace. But also there's another concept that we bring into the equation as well, and that is of presentism. We often say, yes, you are absent from work, but you can be present at work, but actually not performing optimally, and that as well impacts obviously on the productivity outputs. It impacts on how well the company you are working for will perform. So obviously then that really compounds into this negative picture that we are seeing.
But if it sounds so drastic, well, and quite serious, what's the level of awareness amongst employers about this problem?
We are not where we would like to be. There is still a huge lack of awareness, and education around, issues around mental illnesses. Yeah. And in the workplace, you find that, the managers, line managers, supervisors, they really are not equipped to cope or to deal. So when they've got a team member who comes forward and discloses, their mental health status, they don't know how to deal with this person. And therefore, how then it manifests is that they're not giving the support that is required, and they might actually go as far as discriminating this particular individual. Yeah. And really the survey that we have conducted, recently, which actually we've released the results yesterday, is that, more than 80% of the employees are actually not feeling comfortable to disclose, their status, their mental health status, due to the fear that they will be stigmatized, they'll be discriminated against, they might even lose their jobs. So it's critical that line managers, that employers in general, senior managers, that they are actually educated, they are trained,
very important points
and they
that we're going to pick up, as we go on. Unfortunately, it's time for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to now focus on workplace stress and talk about all of these issues that we started talking about. NkiniPhasha, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
If we're talking health, then let's talk seriously.
With MediRite Pharmacy's locked summer prices, you can feel good for less. Get Deep Freeze Gel for only $17.99 and Herbex Attack the Fat Slimming Aid for $116.99. Speak to our friendly pharmacists about how you can save even more with sinus medication for under 35 Rand. MediRite, the pharmacy in your Checkers supermarket.
Well, it was amazing. He took her out for dinner and there was dancing, cocktails.
Did he give her flowers?
No, cocktails and then...
And flowers?
No, she didn't get any flowers.
But I can still smell this gorgeous fragrance all over you.
Oh, that's just me, dear.
Oh, yes. She's been washed in New Comfort. New Comfort? You mean I could smell just like her? Woohoo!
New Comfort. Long-lasting freshness that brings your clothes to life.
I'm a grade 1 teacher.
We invited Sunay to try Dove for 7 days.
One of the girls kept holding onto my arm.